Things got heated on the Hill today. Congressional Republicans took aim at the head of the FBI and Bob Mueller's boss, Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein. Remember, they are both Trump appointees.
If you have evidence of wrongdoing by any member of the Trump campaign, present it to the damn grand jury. If you have evidence that this president acted inappropriately, present it to the American people. Whatever you got, finish it the hell up.
Casual Captain Benghazi there, Trey Gowdy, who seems to have forgotten how long he took with his little investigation that yielded nothing. The back and forth dug into everything from biased text messages to President Trump's claim that the Mueller team is a bunch of angry Democrats. But it got a lot more personal with targeted questions at Rosenstein himself.
Your statement that I'm personally keeping information from you, trying to conceal information.
You're the boss, Mr. Rosenstein.
That's correct. And my job is to make sure that we respond to your concerns. Your use of this to attack me personally.
Why did you?
It's deeply wrong.
This has been a long time coming. Republicans have painted this picture of a dirty DOJ as their rebuttal to the Russia probe. So it was time and opportunity to put some meat on the bones.
Mr. Rosenstein, did you threaten staffers on the House Intelligence Committee? Media reports indicate you did.
Media reports are mistaken.
Sometimes, but this is what they said. Having the nation's #1 law enforcement officer threaten to subpoena your calls and emails is downright chilling. Did you threaten to subpoena their calls and emails?
No, sir, and there's no way to subpoena phone calls.
It is interesting that those who attack the media as fake news will then turn to it when it serves their purposes. But any way you look at it, the intention was clear, to show that those running the probe are dirty.
If it were appropriate for me to recuse, I'd be more than happy to do so and let somebody else handle this, but it's my responsibility to do it.
My next guest was in the room as a member of the House Judiciary Committee. Illinois Democrat Louis Gutierrez is here. Welcome to Primetime, sir. What a day.
Thank you, Cuomo.
Let me ask you, do you believe that there was meat put on the bones of the suggestion that this investigation has been improper?
I think if you walk away from anything in this hearing is that they want to give the president a trophy, and the trophy's Rosenstein's head on a platter. That's what they want. They want to eliminate him, discredit him, impeach him, get him fired so they can stop. Look, Cuomo, let's get to the real meat of the matter. And that is, if you ask the Deputy Attorney General and the head of the FBI, as I did a foreign country try to undermine, influence, corrupt our election system during the 2016 presidential election? Here's what they both said. Yes. And that is the unanimous opinion of all of the intelligence agencies of the United States government. So why aren't we talking about that and allowing that campaign, which is clear? And secondly, isn't Mueller's probe also looking into who might, have tried to influence the outcome of the investigation? And clearly the President of the United States has told you and me, and we've all heard him, I fired Comey because it's a fake investigation into the Russian, what he says, collusion.
Well, he certainly has said it. Whether he wants to own the words, Congressman, who knows, because he changes his mind a lot about what's true. But he did turn to Rosenstein, the man that his brothers and sisters on the right are now trying to condemn, as a basis for getting rid of Comey. You remember that memo that he wrote? But it seemed to me that they don't really care about the Russia probe as much as they care about undoing the Russia probe by saying that the people who are doing the Russia probe were covering up for Clinton. They just happen to be targeting two of Trump's own guys to make their case today.
Right. So when I asked him, I said, from 0 to 100%, who do you owe your job to, Deputy Attorney General? He said, President Trump. I asked Mr. Wray, the FBI director. He said 100%. The President of the United States. These are both Republicans, and they're both appointed by the President of the United States, and yet it is the Republican Party trying to undermine their credibility so they can crush the probe into the Russian intervention in our electoral process. and they're trying to destroy our democracy. Listen, if it was very clear, for those that have read the Inspector General's report, which I have, if you read the Inspector General's report, they say that Special Agent Strzok didn't play a significant role or any in undermining the investigation or really leading the investigation. So that's a red herring there. Remember, probably Cuomo, you remember when the president would say almost every day, can't wait for the Inspector General's report,
right.
Wait for the Republicans almost, right, like in unison. There was nothing there.
Well, there was stuff in there, Congressman, but it wasn't what they were hoping for. I mean, certainly you had inappropriate activity. You had lying by McCabe. You got a criminal reference there. There's certain things for them to clean up. And Ray and Rosenstein own that.
You're right. But how does that lead back to the Deputy Attorney General? How does that lead back to the current FBI director?
Well, they'll say it leads back because they won't give them the documents. They'll say they're not giving them the information that they want. Do you think that's a fair criticism?
And that's a rabbit hole they want us to go into. So they want such material that it would be, against the rules to give them this kind of information. Plus, you and I both know what Nunes did. He works in collusion with the White House, and they'll take whatever information, especially in those documents. And if I'm Donald Trump, I'd like to have all of my friends, the Republican Party, and all of the members of the Judiciary Committee gather that information and give it to them. It's wrong what they're doing, trying to corrupt, right, an investigation into something. Okay, Cuomo, let's just remember, we all agree, everybody agrees, that the Russians intervened in our electoral process. Should or should there not be an investigation into that? I say absolutely.
But haven't there been like a ton of them?
It's fundamental if we're going to keep. I'm sorry?
I mean, you have the Mueller probe, you had the Senate intel, you had the House intel, which they shut down. I mean, there's been a lot of investigating. It's that you just guys can't agree on anything, so there's no plan of what to do going forward.
Yeah, but Cuomo, we have to let Mueller, he was assigned the task to get this done. It's been 15 months. Look,
right, but you could have come up with a plan to keep our elections safer the next time around. Congress could have done that.
Here's what, Cuomo, here's what I say. Let the investigation go where the investigation and the time. It is more important that we be careful and instead of hurried, because this is about undermining our fundamental democracy, our fundamental how it is we elect those that lead our country. And I think let's give it time. As you said earlier, I mean, my friend Trey Gowdy, 2 years. They spent more than that investigating Hillary Clinton. And I remember I was in Congress 26 years ago. Well, it was more like 20 years ago when they began the investigation into Clinton. That thing went on year after year after year after year. So look, let's get to the bottom and let's get the facts. What's the rush? The rush is this. They want to fire the Deputy Attorney General of the United States so they can put somebody else in their place so that that person can fire Mueller. And that is really dangerous to our democracy. We should all be gathering together and saying, let's find out who tried to corrupt our electoral system and let's go after them and put them in jail. And let's remember, unlike what my Republican colleague said today, there is meat on the bones. There have been indictments. There have been there have been at least 5 guilty pleas. Let's let this go and let an experienced prosecutor, an experienced former head of the FBI, Mueller, take the investigation to where it needs. What's the rush? The rush is, let's end the investigation.
Well, let me ask you something, though, in terms of what this all means for the business of the American people getting done. Is it just, between now and the midterms, is there just no chance that anything meaningful gets done on a bipartisan basis that might make people's lives better?
Look, today's hearing was called by the Republicans. It was an emergency hearing. What was the emergency of having today's hearing? The emergency of having today's hearing is that they didn't want to go on recess without giving one more stab.
I get what they're doing, but I'm just saying, what's the answer to my question?
The answer to your question is that elections have consequences. And today, hundreds of women, I believe many of whom immigration wasn't that big an issue for, right, are today getting involved. And today, in acts of civil disobedience, said enough of the treatment of children and separation of those that are coming. Elections have consequences. People are organizing. People are registering. There's an election in November. And guess what? Until then, I think you're going to see much of what is going to what's continuing to happen. Because, Como, how do I work with somebody who says I'm going to be as mean, as vicious, as nasty, as cruel to immigrants as possible as an election strategy to get myself reelected to Congress and work with me in a bipartisan manner? I can't do that. I'm going to stand up for the children, and we cannot rest until every child is returned to their parent.
All right. Congressman Luis Gutierrez, thank you very much for making the case. You're always welcome on the show.